Two platforms, both quietly running the inner life of thousands of companies right now. Every document, every project, every decision, every half-formed idea. One is the established standard, a structured suite that engineering teams have planned their work in for 2 decades, the place where serious project tracking grew up. The other arrived as a beautiful blank page that let anyone build their own tools, spread through companies like wildfire, and is now coming for the enterprise. So the question every mid-market chief operating officer and head of operations is asking in 2026 is not, which one has more features? It is something stranger and more consequential. Which platform should hold your company's entire brain? Because the tool where your company thinks, plans, and remembers quietly shapes how your company actually works. Today, we answer that. No vendor sponsorship, no fence sitting. Full stack, full verdict. Here's how this episode is structured. First, the framing. Notion and Atlassian are both sold as the place where your company's knowledge and work live. And on a feature checklist, they overlap heavily. Both have documents and wikis, both have project and task tracking, both have databases and boards, both ship an AI layer, both will happily onboard your whole company tomorrow. But they come from opposite philosophies, and that origin still drives every meaningful difference between them in 2026. If you only read the feature matrix, you will pick wrong. Because the feature matrix is the one place these two products have spent years deliberately growing toward each other. The Atlassian suite in 2026 is the structured, purpose-built work platform. Its center of gravity is 2 products. Jira is the project and issue tracker, the system where work is broken into tickets, organized into sprints and boards, and tracked through defined workflows. Confluence is the knowledge base, the wiki where documentation, decisions, and project pages live. The pitch is rigor. Each product was built for a specific job and has been refined for that job for 2 decades. Jira does not try to be a blank canvas. It is an opinionated, powerful system for managing work at scale, with the reporting, permissions, and process controls that serious teams demand. The history matters here. Atlassian built Jira and Confluence as developer tools, and for years, they were the default nervous system of software engineering organizations everywhere. Jira became so ubiquitous that "we track it in Jira" is simply how a huge share of the industry describes its work. Over time, Atlassian extended the suite outward, service management, more team-level tools, and modernized the whole platform onto the cloud. In 2026, the suite is mature, deep, and unapologetically structured. The thing you are buying is not a flexible space. It is a finished, rigorous machine for running work, and you adapt your process to fit its proven shape. Notion in 2026 looks very different. Notion is not a suite of fixed products. It is a single, unified workspace built out of flexible building blocks. And that is the entire idea. Everything in Notion is made of the same simple components: blocks of content, pages, and databases. From those few primitives, a team can assemble almost anything: a wiki, a project tracker, a customer database, a meeting notes system, a company handbook, all in one connected space, all built by the team itself rather than handed down by the tool. The pitch is not rigor, it is flexibility and unity. One place, one set of building blocks, shaped to fit exactly how your company actually works. The history here is the mirror image. Notion began as a tool for individuals and small teams who wanted a beautiful, flexible space to organize their thoughts. And it won an almost fanatical following because it felt nothing like enterprise software. It spread bottom up. One person used it, then their team, then their department, until whole companies were running on a tool that IT never formally chose. Over the last several years, Notion has pushed hard up market, adding the administration, security, and scale features a real enterprise demands, and embedding a strong AI layer throughout. So Atlassian grew from rigid, purpose-built tools, while Notion grew from a flexible blank canvas. Same destination, the company workspace, opposite direction of travel. So here's the distinction that drives everything else. Atlassian is a structured machine. It tells you how work should be organized, and that opinion is the product of 2 decades of refinement. Notion is a flexible workshop. It hands you the building blocks and the freedom to construct exactly the tools your company needs. And that freedom is the product. One is a beautifully engineered machine you operate. The other is a beautifully designed workshop you build in. Keep that frame in your head. Atlassian as the structured machine. Notion as the flexible workshop. Almost every score we hand out today traces back to it. Atlassian will tend to win on rigorous project management at scale, on proven process, and on the depth engineering teams need. Notion will tend to win on flexibility, on the quality of the writing and knowledge experience, on unifying everything in one place, and on how much people actually enjoy using it. Which of those matters more to your company is, honestly, most of the decision, and we will keep coming back to it. Let's talk money. Because the company workspace is a line item that looks small on the website, a modest per person price, and then quietly grows into a real number once the whole organization is on it. Atlassian's pricing is per user, and the structure has a few layers worth understanding. You pay per person for each product. Jira and Confluence are priced separately, and within each there are tiers from standard up through premium and enterprise, with the higher tiers unlocking advanced administration, security, and analytics. On top of that sits the Atlassian Marketplace, an enormous ecosystem of add-ons, and many teams find that the capability they assumed was built in actually comes from a paid third-party app. Each piece is reasonable on its own. The surprise is the total once you add up multiple products, an upgraded tier for the features you actually need, and the add-ons that quietly become essential. 2 specifics catch mid-market teams off guard, and they are worth naming precisely. The first is paying twice. Jira and Confluence are separate products with separate per-user fees, so a company that wants both for everyone is buying 2 subscriptions stacked together. The second is the marketplace creep. The base products are capable, but the path to a really polished setup very often runs through paid add-ons, and each one adds its own per-user line. The bill scales with how many products, how high a tier, and how many add-ons you end up needing, and the add-ons in particular tend to accumulate quietly. In our experience modeling actual mid-market deployments, call it a few hundred to a couple thousand people across engineering and the wider business, an Atlassian bill very commonly lands somewhere between $100,000 and $700,000 a year, depending on how many products, which tier, and how many marketplace add-ons end up in the mix. And the part that genuinely catches teams off guard is that the per user per product math compounds. Every new product and every add-on multiplies across the entire headcount. So small per person numbers become large totals fast. Notion's pricing structure is simpler in shape. It is per user as well, with tiers from a basic plan up through business and enterprise, but it is one product. The wiki, the projects, the databases, the documents, they are all the same Notion, so you are buying one subscription per person rather than stacking several. Notion's AI capabilities are part of the picture too, included in the higher plans rather than always sold as a wholly separate line. The structure is recognizably per seat, but it is a single unified per seat rather than a stack of them. There is one number that does most of the work in a Notion bill, and you should understand it before you sign anything. Total seats, and specifically how you handle people who only need to read. Because Notion is one tool for the whole company, the temptation is to put everyone on it. And a per-seat tool multiplied across every employee is a real cost. The trap is paying full price for occasional or read-only users. The good news is that Notion's plans give you ways to handle lighter users more cheaply. The discipline is deciding deliberately who genuinely needs a full seat. The cost is controllable, but only if you manage the seat list rather than letting it sprawl. Here's the kicker for mid-market math. Because Notion is a single unified product rather than several stacked subscriptions, and because it leans less heavily on a paid add-on ecosystem, the all-in cost for a comparable company-wide deployment very often lands meaningfully lower, frequently in the range of half to 2/3 of a comparable multi-product Atlassian bill. You still pay per seat, and a sprawling, undisciplined seat list can erode the advantage, but the structural math favors Notion. One subscription per person tends to beat 2 or 3 plus add-ons. In other words, for covering a whole company, one tool is usually cheaper than a stack of them. Now, before the comment section fills up, yes, Atlassian can be cost optimized. By being disciplined about which products and tiers you actually buy and resisting unnecessary add-ons. And a lean Atlassian estate is far cheaper than a sprawling one. And yes, a Notion deployment with thousands of full seats handed out indiscriminately can get expensive too. But across the mid-market deployments we have reviewed, the structural gap is real, and it consistently runs in Notion's favor when a company needs both knowledge management and project tracking for a broad population. That is meaningful money. And here is the part that does not fit in a spreadsheet cell. The real cost of a Workspace tool is not the subscription. It is whether people actually use it. A tool the company genuinely adopts becomes the place where knowledge compounds and decisions are remembered. A tool people quietly avoid becomes a graveyard of stale pages, and the company's real knowledge scatters back into chat messages and inboxes in people's heads, which is the most expensive outcome of all. So the spending question is really an adoption question. Are you paying for a living system or a digital filing cabinet nobody opens? The cheaper tool is worthless if it sits unused, and the pricier one is worth it if the whole company genuinely lives in it. Cost is one thing. Getting a whole company to genuinely adopt a Workspace, not just have accounts, but actually live in it, is another. And in 2026, with attention scarce and tool fatigue real, time to genuine adoption is arguably the most important number that never appears on the quote. Atlassian's Rollout has a particular shape. Smooth for engineers, harder for everyone else. Software teams often adopt Jira quickly because it matches how they already think about work, and many have used it before. But rolling the suite out to the wider business, operations, marketing, finance, is a bigger lift because Jira's structured, ticket-based model does not always feel natural to non-engineers, and configuring Jira well genuinely requires expertise. Reaching a state where the whole organization is productively using the suite across the cases we reviewed typically took 3 to 6 months, and often involved a dedicated administrator or an external partner. Notion's Rollout has the opposite shape and a genuine paradox inside it. Getting people to start using Notion is easy. It is approachable, pleasant, and most people are comfortable in it within hours. And that is exactly why it so often spreads through a company before IT formally adopts it. But the paradox is this: Notion's flexibility, which is its great strength, is also its rollout risk. A blank canvas given to a whole company without structure produces chaos. Inconsistent pages, duplicate systems, no agreed way of doing anything. Across the cases we reviewed, reaching genuine, well-organized company-wide adoption took roughly 2 to 5 months, and the deciding factor was whether someone designed a clear structure up front. So why does the friction land where it does? 3 reasons. 1, the fit. Atlassian fits engineers because it was built for them. It fits the rest of the business less naturally. Notion fits almost everyone at the surface because it is approachable, but fitting it to the company's real processes takes design. 2, the configuration burden. A good Jira setup genuinely requires expertise and ongoing administration. A good Notion setup requires upfront information architecture. Someone has to design the templates and the structure. 3, the chaos risk. Atlassian's rigidity prevents chaos by refusing to bend. Notion's flexibility invites chaos unless a deliberate structure holds it in. There is one more rollout factor that almost never makes the evaluation, and it should. Who designs the system on day one? Both platforms succeed or fail on this. Atlassian needs someone who genuinely knows how to configure Jira workflows well. Notion needs someone with a clear vision for how the company's workspace should be structured. The single biggest predictor of a successful rollout on either platform is not the tool. It is whether a capable owner shapes it before the company pours in. A workspace platform handed to a company with no design is a platform that will disappoint, regardless of which one you bought. Name the owner before you sign the contract. Now, and this matters, the structured rigidity of Atlassian is a genuine asset, not just a constraint. If your organization wants a proven way to run work and would rather adopt a refined process than invent one, Atlassian's opinionated structure has real, defensible value. But if your company would genuinely benefit from a workspace shaped to fit how it actually thinks, and you have someone able to design that well, Notion's flexibility becomes a system the whole company can love rather than tolerate. This is the heart of the comparison. What can each platform actually do well, and where does each one quietly fall short? Let's break it into 4 dimensions. Documents and knowledge management, project and task management, databases and flexible structure, and the AI layer. I'll score each one head to head. Dimension 1, documents and knowledge management. Notion wins this clearly. The writing experience is genuinely excellent. Clean, fast, pleasant, and flexible. And because every document can connect to databases and other pages, a Notion knowledge base feels alive and interconnected rather than like a pile of static files. People actually enjoy writing in it, and that is not a small thing for a knowledge tool. Confluence is a capable, mature wiki, and it does the job for many organizations. But the editing experience and the sense of an interconnected living workspace tilt clearly toward Notion. Dimension 2. Project and task management. Atlassian wins this, and for serious engineering work, it is not close. Jira is a deep, mature, purpose-built project management system. Sprints, complex workflows, detailed reporting, and the ability to manage work across many teams at real scale. It does things no general-purpose tool matches. Notion has genuinely capable project management, and for many teams and lighter workflows, it is more than enough. It can run a project board well. But for rigorous, large-scale, process-heavy project tracking, especially in software engineering, Jira remains the more powerful and more proven tool. Dimension 3, databases and flexible structure. Notion wins this, and it is the dimension where its whole philosophy pays off. Notion's databases are extraordinarily flexible. The same data can be viewed as a table, a board, a calendar, a gallery, a timeline, and pages can be embedded inside each other freely. A team can build a custom system, a content pipeline, a hiring tracker, a sales database, without any code, shaped exactly to its own needs. Atlassian's products are structured and capable within their defined purpose, but they do not offer anything like Notion's open, build-it-yourself flexibility. This is Notion's clearest structural advantage. Dimension 4, the AI layer. This is where 2026 genuinely differs from 2023, and here the race is close and interesting. Notion's AI is woven through the unified workspace. It can write and summarize, and crucially, it can answer questions across everything in your workspace because it is all one connected system. An AI that can see your whole company's knowledge in one place is genuinely powerful. Atlassian's AI assistance, sometimes branded around its Rovo capabilities, is strong too, and it reaches across Atlassian's products and connected tools to find answers and take actions. Notion's AI wins on the elegance of one unified knowledge base to reason over. Atlassian's wins on reaching across a broader set of enterprise systems. One honest caveat across all 4 dimensions, because the demos are seductive. Both platforms are only as good as the discipline of the people using them. A beautifully flexible Notion workspace with no maintenance becomes a sprawl of stale, duplicated pages. A powerful Jira instance configured carelessly becomes a maze of confusing workflows nobody trusts. And an AI layer reasoning over messy, outdated content will confidently surface wrong answers. The capability is real, but it is multiplied or wasted by how well the workspace is kept. These tools reward an organization that tends its knowledge, and neither one rescues an organization that does not. Net of all four dimensions, Notion is the stronger platform for knowledge, for flexible custom systems, and for a workspace people genuinely enjoy living in. Atlassian is the stronger platform for rigorous, large-scale project management and for the structured process that serious engineering organizations depend on. You are not choosing between good and bad. You are choosing between flexible, unified, and pleasant, and structured, deep, and proven. And for most mid-market companies, the honest answer depends on whether your defining need is managing knowledge across the whole business or managing complex work at engineering scale. No workspace platform lives alone, and none is adopted without the IT and security teams weighing in. So before you sign, you have to ask the questions the sales demo glides past. How well does it scale? How is it governed? And how hard is it to leave? Atlassian's scale and governance story is its strongest enterprise argument. Atlassian has spent 2 decades selling to large organizations, and it shows. The enterprise tiers offer mature, granular administration, sophisticated permissions, detailed audit capabilities, and the compliance certifications a careful security review demands. When your organization grows large and complex, with many teams, strict access requirements, and serious governance needs, Atlassian's controls are deep and well proven. This is genuine enterprise-grade maturity earned over many years of running the work of very large companies. Notion's enterprise story is genuinely strong now and worth understanding precisely. Notion has invested heavily in moving up market. Its enterprise tier provides real administration, single sign-on, audit logging, advanced permissions, and the security posture a serious company requires. For most mid-market organizations, Notion's governance is now entirely sufficient. The honest caveat is one of track record. Atlassian has simply been doing enterprise governance for far longer. So for the very largest and most heavily regulated organizations, Notion is the newer entrant, and a careful security team should verify it meets their specific bar. For the median mid-market company, that gap is small and shrinking. 2 more dimensions matter here: integrations and ecosystem, and lock-in. Integrations and ecosystem. Atlassian has the deeper ecosystem by a clear margin. Its marketplace is enormous, with thousands of apps extending the suite and a vast global network of partners who implement and customize it. Notion's integration library and partner ecosystem are smaller but growing steadily, and it connects well to the common tools a mid-market company uses. Atlassian wins on sheer depth and on the availability of implementation partners. Notion covers the essentials and is catching up. Lock-in. This is a real factor on both sides, and it is worth being honest about. Any workspace platform that holds years of your company's documents, projects, and history creates genuine switching cost. The content is in that platform structure, and moving it out is a real project. Both Atlassian and Notion let you export your data, but an export is raw material, not a working migration. Notion's everything is blocks model can make some content relatively portable. Atlassian's accumulated workflows, permissions, and customizations are deeply specific to its suite. Neither platform is a casual switch once a whole company has settled in. Choose with the expectation that you will stay for years. So, the verdict. For the median mid-market company called a couple hundred to a couple thousand people, a mix of engineering and a wide non-technical business, a need for one workspace the whole company can genuinely share, Notion wins in 2026. It wins on cost, on the quality of its knowledge and writing experience, on flexibility, on unifying everything in one place, and on the simple fact that people enjoy using it, which drives the adoption that makes any workspace tool worth its price. It loses on rigorous large-scale project management and on the very longest enterprise governance track record. But for the median mid-market company, those losses do not change the buying decision. Atlassian wins for a specific and important subset of mid-market. Companies whose center of gravity is a large software engineering organization that genuinely needs rigorous, scalable project management. Companies running complex, process-heavy work across many teams that depend on Jira's depth. Companies already deeply invested in the Atlassian suite and its ecosystem, and large or regulated organizations that need the deepest, longest proven enterprise governance. If that is you, Atlassian's structure, depth, and maturity genuinely pay off. But you have to accept the higher multi-product cost and the heavier configuration burden with your eyes open. If you are in the gray zone, somewhere between those two profiles, here is the decision framework I would actually use. Question 1. Where is your company's center of gravity? A large engineering organization or a broad mix of teams across the whole business? If it is engineering-centric with serious project tracking needs, lean Atlassian. If it is a broad mix needing shared knowledge, lean Notion. This is the single most predictive question on the list. Question 2. How rigorous and large-scale does your project management genuinely need to be? Complex multi-team workflows or lighter project tracking? If you need genuine depth and scale, Atlassian. If lighter tracking suffices, Notion is more than enough. Be honest about the projects you actually run, not the ones you imagine. Question 3. How much do you value one unified, flexible workspace for the whole company versus deep, separate, purpose-built tools? If unity and flexibility matter most, Notion. If depth in each specific tool matters most, Atlassian. It is a values question, and it has to be an honest one. Question 4. Do you have someone who can genuinely own the design of the workspace, either configuring Jira well or architecting a clean Notion structure? Either way, you need that owner. But if you have a strong information architect, Notion's ceiling is higher. If you have a strong Jira administrator, Atlassian's depth opens up. There is no wrong answer. Match the platform to the owner you actually have. If your answers split evenly, default to the more flexible, lower cost, more broadly loved option, which in 2026 is Notion. You can always run a rigorous project management tool alongside it for the engineering teams that need one. Many companies do exactly that. What is harder is forcing a whole non-technical company to live happily inside a structured engineering tool. Default to the workspace the whole company will actually use, and add specialized depth where a specific team genuinely demands it. One last point before we close. The honest truth is that the platform where your company's knowledge and work live is one of the most quietly consequential decisions a mid-market company will make. It shapes how the whole organization thinks, plans, and remembers. Both Notion and Atlassian are genuinely excellent platforms built by serious teams. The wrong choice does not take you down. The wrong choice taxes how well your company thinks together, quietly, every single day. Our verdict for 2026 mid-market, Notion is the default. Atlassian is the deliberate choice, made on purpose by engineering-centric companies that genuinely need its rigorous, large-scale project management. Not chosen by inertia, and not because the company has always tracked work in Jira and never reconsidered. We'll do deep dive episodes on each: a Notion workspace architecture playbook, a Jira configuration walkthrough, real migration case studies in both directions. If you want those, subscribe and the work keeps coming. Full stack. Full verdict. No sponsorship from either vendor. If that's the kind of review you want more of, hit subscribe.